Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that goes beyond the trillion-dollar business of sports into marketing and law and deal-making and a whole host of other things that cause it to be growing faster than any other sector of business. It's certainly awareness-wise it is, and frankly, this is a busiest time of year. Baseball just starting, obviously, NBA, NHL, getting closer to the playoffs. Football never sleeps, as we know. Golf and tennis moving in their right direction, as is racing. And if you want to see all of the items in one neat package, the 15 to watch, the top power of sports as well, the top tech, get into it at Rick Horrow, NBCWashington.com. The old reliables are there. We've done this for the last 5 or 6 years, even longer. And if you want to also, look for us on Stitcher, Google Play, Audio Boom. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcast, iTunes feed, everywhere where content is organized and sold. We're really excited about this show, and we're excited about you getting access to it as well. And by the way, it's a shameless plug, but I think it's long overdue. We, yesterday at Harvard Business School and this whole week, announced a collaboration with Human Kinetics and Mascot Books. Launched, I think, one of the most anticipated sports business chronicles ever assembled. I'm a little biased about it. I'm involved in it, but it's called the Sports Business Handbook, Insights from 100-plus leaders who shaped 50 years of the industry. We compiled it with Rick Burton and Miles Schrag. It'll take fans, students, and those involved in the sports and entertainment industry into the lives of more than 100 executives during the boom era of sports business and marketing, which basically celebrates its 50th anniversary. We'll do this in honor of the late 70s when a lot of this started. The collection featured league commissioners Gary Bettman of the NHL, Don Garber, MLS, Paul Tagliabue, NFL, Oliver Luck, XFL, Nick Sakiewicz, National Lacrosse League, executives such as NBC Sports President Mark Lazarus, Liverpool's Peter Moore, the Vikings' Kevin Warren, and Larry Lucchino of the Red Sox. Administrators such as Oklahoma's Joe Castiglione, Arizona State's Ray Anderson, NC State's Debbie Yao, and professional athletes such as the Miami Heat's Shane Battier, Olympic champion Scott Hamilton, and Angelo Ruggiero, and Baseball Hall of Famer Cal Ripken, Jack Nicklaus, and others. These leaders tell stories in their own words about lessons learned, achieving success, overcoming failure, and ultimately inspiring readers to forge their own paths in the industry. Harvard Business School started it, Amazon, but also mascotbooks.com. Mascotbooks.com. We're having a tour of 27 cities in the next 2.5 or 3 years, talking about the 50 greatest moments in those individual cities, as well as the national 50 greatest moments. I'm certainly excited about it. A lot of work to put it together, and there's nothing like it. So thank you for listening, and hopefully you all will get it and take a look at it as well. Let's look at golf up top. Just finished the Honda Classic, very charitable event. Sports increasing revenue from a lot of different ways. The tour itself accepting gambling-related sponsorships. They revised their regulation. Situation with legalized sports betting in the U.S. has evolved since the Supreme Court ruling last May. Broader acceptance of sports betting and gaming involvement with pro sports. Time to look at the policies given the public perception around gaming and to update those policies to be consistent with public sentiment. The PGA Tour making major sponsorship changes by allowing certain gambling deals and broadening the liquor category, for example, for the players. At a tour meeting at the Honda Classic in Palm Beach Gardens, players were briefed on the changes that now will allow sponsorships with casinos and gambling resorts effective immediately. The tour is also allowing official marketing partnerships and tournament title deals with certain gambling entities and daily fantasy sports concerns. Years ago, would never do that. But the interesting thing about the PGA Tour, it does that on the revenue side, but it is by far the most charitable organization of any. Not to disparage the efforts of anybody else, but golf and charity go hand in hand. There are over 1,000 events around the country in summer months in the north and winter months in the south and everywhere that focus on charities from a variety of different perspectives. What it usually takes is a volunteer chairman who puts personal gain aside, spends a lot of time creating a business, either hiring companies that put on these events, create a foundation, and donate generally to that foundation at large. We all know it happens all the time. I want to give some specific kudos, not only to everybody that does that, but went to one particular event 2 weeks ago for the Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital in the Tampa Bay area at a course called Concession, Jack Nicklaus's courts in Bradenton. And Ted Abrams, who is one of the investors and the CEO of Joffrey's Coffee, gave of his time very selflessly to put together this entire event. These are labors of love. People don't get enough credit for this. Ted Abrams is speaking for all of those tournament organizers all across the country. Here is the business plan and what he did with the tournament. Ted Abrams. Sports professor Rick Horrow, inside the boardroom, beyond the scoreboard. A unique and interesting perspective on the sports business today. Ted Abrams, who is the CEO, co-founder, investor in Joffrey's Coffee. He is one of the key coffee guys in the world. But more important than all of that is he's been a lifelong friend, and he's used his time to dedicate a special event to charity. But I want to talk generally about what it means to put together a golf tournament in these days of tight economy and all. Ted, how are you?
I'm great, Rick. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It is incredible. I just was moved to real emotion last night to watch how much you guys raised. There was a matching donor, there were some major commitments, and you raised total well over $300,000 for the Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital in the Tampa area last night.
Correct. Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
This is the second year for me to be the captain of this event, and I was just absolutely blown away. I mean, I'm without words. The amount of money that we raised in such a short amount of time was just beyond everybody's imagination, and we are so thrilled for the financial commitments that the people did last night. It's incredible.
Well, obviously it takes somebody with vision and some time and means and a charitable heart, which is you and your wife Penny, but it also means putting together a very significant business plan that will repeat itself all the time. So tell us the quick story of how this came to be and how you decided to do this, and basically how you pull it off, because it's not just you, obviously.
No, it's not just me at all. I mean, there's other board members, and then John Hopkins has their whole committee that that works on this. I don't do anything in the sense of it's my commitment of my time. I bring people together. This is the fourth year to do this. This is my second year to be the captain of this organization, and we have. There's a great John Boykin is the one essentially that pulls all this together, and John puts events on throughout the country. Mm-hmm. Great guy, and the team that he has is just phenomenal in making it seamless. And the culmination was what we accomplished last night, and just the incredible amount of money that was raised.
So when everybody reads, and they're casual sports fans, that athletes are involved in off-season fundraising for their foundation, and you kind of move on to other things. This is a big industry. It's an industry that raises, I don't know what the total number is, but I do know that philanthropy in sports generally has increased 12% over the last 5 years, which is higher than any other aspect of the sports business. And it takes the athlete that wants to create a foundation that does good, but it also takes the private citizen who has the ability and means to devote the time and then reach out and put these kind of events together, which is you. So humility aside, this is a business that you probably wouldn't have been involved in if there wasn't this clear company that would put it together and a blueprint for how you succeed.
Well, I mean, that's without a doubt. I mean, because I don't have the expertise, right. I don't have the bandwidth, to be able to pull something like this off. I mean, we have we have 28 teams playing today, two-man teams, and this particular event playing here at the Concession, which is such a phenomenal golf course. we actually it's a true tournament. You know, many other fundraising events are a scramble. This is a two-man best ball event. So, and then the winner goes on to play, which John Boykin also puts on, where you get to play on a national basis over at Pebble Beach, all expenses paid.
I mean, the winner goes to Pebble?
The winner goes to Pebble.
I better go out there and practice.
You better, yeah, you better. Well,
that's not going to affect
it's not going to affect
Believe
you.
me.
And then actually the winner of that event gets all expenses paid to play on an international basis at St. Andrews. So it's just an incredible, 2 days from an experience standpoint, and I'm just honored to be part of it.
Well, but just focusing on how this is done, give me your general perspective of yours as a kind of corporate guy first, and then putting these kind of things on. There are a lot more of these today than there ever were. Each community has dozens that are sponsored by a foundation of a team and other corporations. How do you get out of the clutter? How do you put it on and then say, I've satisfied my goal? And is your goal an awareness goal? Is it creating a franchise every year? Is it raising X? I mean, what? No,
I think obviously we want to try to raise more than we did the previous year. But for me, it's not, you get to a certain point in your career when you've accomplished many things, and not just financially, as far as raising a family and having a successful marriage and so forth. But I think it's just important, when you see what the dollars have, the effect that they have on the children, and the fact that, I guess backing up, myself and my company, our corporate mission around charity is around children. We're also involved with Make-A-Wish, which I'm on the board of up in Tampa.
Which involved a second golf tournament in the same day?
Yes, kind of, right? Yes, yeah, kind of, yes. Ours was yesterday on President's Day, which we always do it on President's Day, and then I quickly came from Tampa down here to do this one. And for me, children are, I guess it's the epitome for me from a charity give back. And because, a child is so innocent, and, when they're sick like this and their inability to, a lot of times just to communicate, it's hard for me to put in words. It really is. So.
Do you, is it important for you at a stage in life to be charitable generally, and then kind of you pick the charity that's important? Has this been a charity that's been important to you for a long time?
Well, I mean, my wife and I, we have a personal relationship with All Children's. Our youngest son spent a week up at All Children's when he was in second grade. And I think from that point on, we felt, a personal connection. I mean, just the care that he had while he was there, and he's perfect today. But it started from 20-something years ago.
So we understand there is a dynamic or dilemma about corporate. By the way, Ted gets the accolades he richly deserves by people who are about to come to this tournament. Most of them really want to win. I'm not sure if Ted's going to be as excited around people after they don't win. But anyway, it's a lot of respect. When you hear the debate about athletes as role models, and Charles Barkley says he's not one, let's talk about athletes first. What do you think is the obligation of someone who does well to kind of give back and teach?
I think it should be first and foremost. Mm-hmm. You and I have talked about this for a long time, and I think that so many athletes forget that they are here and their level of success is because of the fans, and fans should be recognized. And so I think that they should have a give back, and not just, I think it should be a financial give back as well. And we're fortunate to have a pro athlete on our board, and he matched every donation that was done last night, which was huge. And it just, to me, he's the epitome of what a professional athlete should be. He's retired now, and he continues, with his give back to the organization. And I just think a pro athlete, it's too important that they should not be involved with that.
Let's segue quickly into your life as a corporate CEO. Corporate CEOs should have a social responsibility program for their corporation. Generally, question, do they do it? In your case, do you do it because it generates ROI? Is it something that you feel an obligation to do? Is it a little of both? What's your motivation?
No, it's not about the ROI when it comes to something like this. The motivation is the fact that we should be good corporate citizens. And all of our employees, especially getting around with Make-A-Wish, they rally around this, and it's a good, come together for our organization. And it's all about the fact of wanting to do right as a citizen, or as a corporate citizen. And it's really nothing more than that. It's about the give back to the organizations that we're involved with.
You're I'm not sure it's small business, you're a medium-sized business, but you're not a giant, and giants spend a lot of money as well. So I suspect on a relative basis, it's everybody watches their pennies, and especially with the new tax issues, we don't get into political issues as well, but it's harder to do the kinds of things that you're doing now than ever before, yes?
You're doing the right thing is always hard.
Yeah.
And it's about doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, clearly. And so my final question about sports generally, the power of sports is really important, and people have different perspectives to talk about it. What is it about sports generally that allows you to feel good about playing in this arena, about doing this kind of thing? I guess you could do a fundraiser at an opera. You're not an opera guy, but what is so special about sports that gets people here?
It's especially within golf, which I've been playing for years. I think that it's about there's a camaraderie that's created, and it's getting away from the everyday, dealing with work. And sports is so ingrained in all of our livelihoods that I think it's a natural fit. And to me, the golf is because it takes, say 4+ hours, you're with people that you like to be with. And there's an enjoyment, and there's a connection that you have, to me, when you're on the golf course with people that you're with. And I just think it's a natural fit.
And as we close this, I just want people to understand that Ted is incredibly humble, as well as being a lifelong friend, and he mentioned Joffrey's Coffee maybe once, so clearly he does this because it's the right thing to do, not because it generates awareness for the company. If it does generate awareness for Joffrey's Coffee, it's purely secondary. Ted Abrams, thank you as always. Rick Horrow, speak with you soon. Well, Ted's a good friend. He raised a lot of money for charity, but he also brought awareness to this issue. And frankly, this whole world of golf and charity is a major process that shouldn't be ignored. Let's go to other sports, and let's start with soccer, because the MLS season kicked off during the week, and 24th season, complete with new teams, FC Cincinnati, new stadium in Minnesota, Allianz Field. MLS also launched the league's new mobile app campaign, Live Your Colors, which will run on broadcast and digital platforms throughout the season. The league also looks to top last year's success, which had record revenue and attendance and TV viewership on its own. On the sponsorship side, Sporting Kansas City and Hallmark locked in creative new partnerships designed to align the brands around opportunities to put more care into the world by reaching fans, players, and families across the soccer community. In Indy, the Indiana State Senate approved legislation keeping the effort alive to fund a $150 million stadium for an MLS team. The bill would also fund a proposed 5-year lease extension for the Pacers at Bankers Life Fieldhouse and an Indiana Convention Center expansion. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. One other example of a major creative partnership in D.C. D.C. United held Kick It with Qatar, a free preseason event at Audi Field in association with the embassy and the state of Qatar as well. It kicked off the 2019 MLS season, highlighting the first World Cup to be held in the Middle East and preparing for a continued relationship between health and wellness, sport, and communities. Kick It with Qatar is a D.C. United soccer festival, a free event to the public, and the event took place this last weekend, the day before global soccer icon Wayne Rooney and D.C. United took on 2018 MLS Cup champions Atlanta United in the home opener and beat them. 3,500 free tickets made available for the event. Andy Bush, D.C. United revenue officer, said, "Very pleased to introduce this preseason open day in association with the Qatar Embassy for the black and red supporters. The state of Qatar, a creative deal with D.C. United that benefits everybody." Look at other soccer issues on the women's side. The national team wears the name of iconic women on jerseys during matches, including influential women who inspired them on the back of their jerseys in a 2-2 tie against England at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. The names range from Nobel Prize winners, athletes, activists like Beyonce, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Serena Williams, Mother Teresa. An announced crowd of 22,000 were on hand for the game, played with less than 100 days left until the FIFA Women's World Cup this summer in France. The She Believes Cup, far from a marketing gimmick, is a singular opportunity for U.S. women's soccer's best of the best to honor the best of the best in other disciplines, and a real novel and real creative idea. On the men's side, U.S. Club Soccer announced the International Junior Tour with a major assist from Nike. Prominent member of U.S. Soccer Federation and the leading organization developing soccer clubs across America, announced the 2019 National Selection Tour roster, traveling to Belgium and France in March for a multifaceted experience highlighted by friendly matches against top academy clubs, including Paris Saint-Germain. The U.S. contingent, made up of 18 of the top boys born in 2005, will also be immersed in culture with excursions throughout the neighboring countries as well. And consistent with the U.S. Club Soccer philosophy that identification and development should be free to players, the organization funding the trip in conjunction with strong support of Nike, and there is no cost to players, including airfare, lodging, meals, and gear. Pretty good. Shift to the NBA for a second. They get a big payoff. They're halfway through their patch program. The results are clear. It's a slam dunk. The 29 deals, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the only one without one, generates more than $150 million per year in new revenue for the teams. Sponsors receive 25 to 50% more exposure than they would have on a comparable spend, according to Navigate Research. And with that in mind, the league trying to figure out how to make more money off the program. One way, expand where jerseys and team patches are sold. Fans want replicas of exact jerseys, and they can't find them in retail. They got to go to the team store, and the patch partnership pilot program has far exceeded league expectations. Adam Silver projected that sponsorships would generate about $100 million, and he said that in 2016. So far, the revenue has exceeded that projection by 50%. Way to go, Adam Silver. Let's go quickly to hockey. Alex Ovechkin, the darling of this area, has been the top jersey seller since the season start. He surged back to the top of the NHL's best-selling list after winning the Stanley Cup last season. Austin Matthews topping the list for the first time last year, with Ovechkin sixth. Two trends in NHL jersey sales have continued. Vegas Golden Knights mania still running wild. Marc-Andre Fleury moved from 4 to 3. The league's annual outdoor game still fuels sales, including participants in this season's stadium sales in Philly. Another factor in jersey sales of the season has been the return of third jerseys for NHL teams, perennial popular with all pro sports leagues. Clearly, hockey and basketball not to be ignored. How about baseball? Major League Baseball and USA Baseball detailed plans to more than 50 young women to participate in MLB Grit, an inaugural high school invitational designed specifically for girls who play baseball. The inaugural event this month will feature a special opportunity for those young high school baseball players to play a game in a Major League park, Globe Life Park, home of the Rangers. In addition to being part of a development experience, the games will run March 8 through 10 and offer high school baseball players from 21 states, D.C., Canada, and Puerto Rico an opportunity to participate. And in addition to the on-field action, participants will be treated to special panel presentations designed to prepare young women for the collegiate recruiting process and other information about alternative careers within baseball. Sport Radar AG has become the exclusive data for sports betting wagers for baseball. Off the field, more revenue. MLB joins the NBA as the only major sports leagues to have U.S. gambling data deals. And in addition to data for sports books, Sports Radar will have the rights to distribute live game video overseas to gambling houses to pair alongside odds. And with the naturally slower pace of baseball, gambling provides huge potential to draw in new fans around the globe who want to place the wagers on all games, all places. Finally, let's talk about esports. You can't go through any of this without esports, and if we didn't think it was big enough already, esports becomes the League of Legends Pro League official supplier in China. Nike China does a 4-year partnership through 2022. The LPL, 16 teams competing in a season, group stage, and playoffs with the ultimate goal of winning through the end of the year. Epic also vowed to continue to offer prize support to select third-party tournaments. HBO and MLB are partnering on Game of Thrones, which is obviously an esport opportunity as well. Bobbleheads, the latest MLB Hollywood tie, is much less controversial than the league's most infamous deal, that 2004 agreement with Columbia Pictures and Marvel Studios to allow Spider-Man 2 logos to appear on bases and in on-deck circles. That didn't last too long, but the whole idea is esports is becoming more and more and more acceptable to everybody. Finally, I wasn't going to actually include this in the list of really significant things, but I think it is, and I think kids and grandkids all over the country will as well. Sesame Street collaborates with lifestyle brands as part of its 50th birthday celebration. The year-long 50th anniversary celebration, Sesame Workshop, the nonprofit behind the show, is collaborating with Tom's, Bombas, Out of Print, and Diff Eyewear on new lifestyle collections that support those in need with buy, give one away incentives and outreach programs. One of the key strategic goals is to expand and diversify consumer products offering so fans across generations have new ways to enjoy Sesame Street. Sports figures who have appeared, this is interesting, Joe Namath, Arthur Ashe, Jackie Robinson, Michael Chang, Joe Torre, Venus Williams, Drew Brees, Dominique Dawes, and others. Sports, entertainment, kids, an incredibly interesting mix. Like to thank Ted Abrams devoting his time and telling us all a lot more about golf and charity. Dan Martin, Tanner Simpkins, Reed Weber for putting the podcast together. And thank you all for listening and watching, and looking forward to joining us next time when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.